AIC Productions video. Today I wanted to talk about the AIC fleet. I've done this before when I first got the blue car, and I found it to be very effective. I use these chalk markers. I'll put a link to these in the description. They work great for this and a bunch of other stuff. And so I listed out some of the things that I want to be doing to my fleet of vehicles. Starting off with my Infiniti. I did a video on that a little while ago. There should be another one coming out for that pretty soon. But the first thing I want to do with my Infiniti is pay it off. When I bought it, I did take out a loan. I don't think you should, if you can at all avoid it, take out a loan or take out a minimal loan on a vehicle. That's just personal preference. I've had a lot of money problems in the past. A lot that were my fault, some that were not, and I found it's just easier, life is easier if you don't owe people money. So anyways, so that's step number one. My goal is to have it paid off in about a year. We'll see if we'll get there. The second thing I'd like to do to it is possibly upgrade the exhaust. It's luxury car quiet, and I definitely think it needs a little bit more attitude with the exhaust. Hopefully I have some B-roll in here of that sound. It's a little bit louder when it's cold, and you'll probably hear that, but once it warms up, you can't hardly hear it unless you're really getting on it, and even then it's a bit muted. Number three I'd like to do possibly is tires. It comes from the factory with run flat tires. They're Bridgestone something or another, I don't remember off the top of my head, but they're okay. They're not great, they're just touring tires. They're quiet, but they don't have great grip, and it's really easy to break them loose, which means you're then fighting traction control. You know, I was going around the freeway the other day on ramp, and I gave it a little bit of goose, but I immediately had some tire slip, and then the traction control kicked in, and I was dead in the water. It was real embarrassing. I wasn't racing anybody or anything. It's just, you know, it killed the fun. And then number four is the wheels. Again, some B-roll. The wheels look awesome. I love the design of them, but there's too much space between where the wheel ends and the fender is. And with the black tire there, you don't hardly see it, so it just looks like there's this massive gap. It's obviously meant for, so my Q50 is the base model, so it has 17-inch wheels, but some of the tire trim models come with 20-inch wheels, and so you can tell it's meant for a larger wheel. So I may do a wheel. I may see if I can get some takeoffs from like a Red Sport or something. We'll see. That's after I get it paid off, so that's not anytime soon. So the second car is my wife's Ford Flex. My wife hates the color pink, and so I put this in pink because I know it'll tick her off when she sees this video, or next time she comes in the garage. So for the Flex, the car has just shy of 80,000 miles on it now, and the suspension is due. The shocks are leaking, and it creaks when you go over bumps, and my wife hates it, and so I need to do that. So that's probably the thing I'm going to be doing next for my own sanity. So when my wife drives her car, I don't then get to hear about it. Then, of course, after you do the suspension, you always do the alignment. Brakes, I think there's still a bit of meat on them, but if I'm doing the work, I might as well just do the brake pads too. They're not, the rotors aren't warped. They look like they have plenty of life left on them, so I may just do the brakes as part of it. I recently bled the brakes, which if you have a car that's more than 3 years since the last time the brakes were bled, or if you don't know when the last time the brakes were bled, take the time and do that. It doesn't take very long. You need a bottle, maybe a bottle and a half brake fluid, and just get all of that old gunky brake fluid out. It really changes the feel of the brakes in a big way. Highly recommended. And then tires on her Flex. So when I was doing the brake fluid change about a month ago now, the rear tires, I found a screw in one of them. So I went to Discount Tire and to see if they could replace that. And they looked at that tire, and then the tire on the other side had been curb checked and had a big slice in it that I hadn't noticed. And so I ended up having to replace the 2 tires on the back. And again, hopefully I have some video here for you. The tires that were on there, I think they're Nankangs, I think that's how you pronounce it. They're less than 3 years old now, but they're dry rotted. And she doesn't drive the car a whole lot, but it sits in the garage. So they're not out in the heat. They're not out getting sun-baked. I'm really disappointed in how long the rubber has lasted. And the set that were in the back were getting pretty close. They probably only had another couple thousand miles on them. I think we have less than 15,000 miles on these tires. I'm really disappointed in how long they've lasted, with how gently they're driven and how seldomly they're driven and the condition they're kept in. So when I replaced those tires in the back, I did go with the absolute cheapest tires I could. They're just a touring tire, GT radial. So I was out the door for under $200 for those tires installed. But I'll get a better set of tires. We have no trips planned through next summer in the car, so they don't need to be anything special to go the mile and a half to the grocery store and back again, and the quarter of a mile it is to go to church, and the stuff that we do in her car as a family. And then moving on to the truck, the exhaust. I want to replace the exhaust. It is rusty, it is nasty, it looks awful. Not quite sure how far I want to go on the exhaust. If I want to do a full header back, if I want to replace the headers, if I just want to do a cat back. I don't know what condition the cat is in, the catalytic converter. So we're going to see. I haven't just made a decision on that. I want to see what my options are. So look forward to that. Then I also probably want to replace the front wheel bearings. I have a video of me doing that. When I did that previously, I used the wrong grease. I didn't realize the grease I had was the wrong kind of grease. And so I don't think they're going to last all that long. And so I want to do it again and put proper grease in there. Then I want to redo the rear axle. If you look at the seal, it's leaking a little bit. The back of the diff cover it looks wet because it's leaking a little bit. So drain that, regasket that, maybe put some new bearings and seals on the ends. I actually have those. I bought a while ago and I just never got around to it because when I was planning on doing that, we ended up moving and I just never had the time. Then the speakers. So when I replaced the head unit, I also replaced the 4 interior speakers, and I bought the worst ones and they blew out within a month or two. I mean, they're just awful. They're blown, they rattle, they sound terrible, they have no bass. I really picked wrong on those speakers. Then I want to do the wheels and tires. I want to get some wheels with like 3.5, 4 inches of back spacing. Same 15-inch size, a little bit wider. I want to stick with a 31-inch tire, but I want to get some better off-road tires. The tires that are currently on the front, they came off my XJ, so they're pushing 5 years old now. I bought those back in 2013. 2014. So they're getting pretty old, and they did sit out a lot in the sun, and they're pretty dry rotted, and they're getting worn out, and they haven't worn great, and they've been off road a lot, so they have some chunking. The ones in the back, same brand, Hercules. So the ones in the front are all Trax, which they quit making shortly after I bought those. And then the ones in the back are AT2, TerraTrack AT2s. And they've actually held up great. They've been a great tire. I do want something more aggressive, so what I'll probably do is, if possible, I want to fit one of those tires as the spare, because the spare that is in there is the original spare from when the truck was brand new, and that's 20 years ago now, 21 years ago, and so I would not trust those tires, or that tire, so I want to replace it, probably with one of the TerraTrack 2s, and then probably give away the other one. I need to replace the windshield. It has a big old crack in it, and then I want to do a lift, maybe like a 1-2 inch body lift. That's not high priority. Everything else is. And then coming to the blue car. So this is what we call the cars in the house. We have the Infiniti, we have the Flex, the truck, and then this is just the blue car, which is my 2003.5 Mazda Speed Protege. When I took it in for oil change recently, one of the sway bar links is bad. Even though I recently replaced those, I must have just had a bad one from factory and didn't realize it. But it's all loosey-goosey and just needs to be replaced. The sway bar bushings are toast, and they've been since I bought the car. I just haven't bought new ones. The clutch is toast. I need to figure out the tune on it. It still leans out too much when the engine warms up and you're revving it. The seats are not great. They're decent for factory seats, but I mean the car's pretty sporty, and when you go around a quarter at a spirited speed, they don't hold you in like at all. The speakers, a couple of them are blown, and one of them cuts out pretty bad, like it just quits putting sound out. The head unit is awful. It's a $20 Walmart head unit. The sub is not hooked up at all. The RCA jacks or RCA cables, the ends are broken. There's an aftermarket wire for an aftermarket amp that's run through here, and the connection is way too big to fit the factory amp, which is what I have now. I didn't have any amp when I bought it, so I need to redo the audio system. The windshield, there's big old cracks and stars in it, so it needs a new windshield soon. The paint, the hood looks awful. There's big old dents and chipping, and then the respray that I've done I did okay in a few places. In other places it's awful, like the front bumper I need to redo. Some of the other places I just need to wet sand it and clean it up. The engine, don't know, maybe if I want to start doing a little bit more horsepower out of it. There are some problems, like the exhaust manifold is cracked, and plus the bolts for the exhaust manifold, a couple of them are broken off in the head, and that's before, or in the block, and that happened before I bought it. That was, when I bought it, there were only 2 bolts holding the exhaust manifold in place. Now there's 4, so we went from 2 to 4. And then speaking of the exhaust, I love the look of the exhaust on this car, but it's not loud enough. It just, for the kind of car that it is, it's too quiet. It was fine for the factory. I mean, it's actually awesome for a factory exhaust, but at this point, I want to rip that off, slap on something with a little bit more grunt and growl. And the intake pipes, it still has the plastic factory intake pipes, and so maybe front-mounted intercooler, bigger radiator, because right now the intercooler and radiator kind of share the same place. Front-mounted intercooler with some hard pipes on there looks a little bit better, or maybe just get some hard pipes that replace the plastic pipes and keep the stock intercooler location. Haven't decided yet. It all costs a lot of money, and that will be down the road. I said in my last video about this car that it is up for sale. Technically, that is still true. I've actually had people say, I want to buy your car. And I've yet to see any money. So if you're watching this video, love you still. This car is still yours if you want it. But a wish and a prayer doesn't buy the car. Money does. And so that's what I've got going on. So if there's something specific you want to see me do, let me know. I definitely will try to prioritize things as you want to see, especially with cars like the Mazdas, the truck and the blue car. They're not driven a lot, so I can prioritize projects on them a little bit easier because they're just sitting. The Infiniti is harder just because I'm not going to do anything till it's paid off, and the Flex, I can't half do a project on it. I can't leave my wife without a car, so that's something to where it will happen when I have a full Saturday or whatever to do the work. So hopefully that we get that taken care of. And like I said, the front and rear suspension, the alignment on that will probably be done first out of everything and be done in the next few weeks. So hopefully we get that taken care of and have a happy wife so I can have a happy life. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.